Hello, my name is Emma Wright, and I'm going to be talking to you about Tableau. As you can see, Tableau is shown in front of you. This is actually the dashboard for the 2021 data I was given. So, there are many different uses for Tableau and many different attributes to showing data. We can use, as you can tell, a revenue trend here. You can show it in a different circle view, or even a circle view like this, like a circle cluster or a circle view here. You can also use it to forecast and use it to compare to your actual data. So I'll start with the revenue trend. Over here, you see these numbers on the side from your data. And actually, sometimes your data can be imported incorrectly. And a dimension that's up here in blue, which is an attribute to which is an attribute to what you're measuring, will sometimes come down and be a measure, which is what we want to see here. It's an outcome variable, and that's usually what we're graphing. So, like, you can right click on one of these and convert it to measure, as I did with order number. So when I first imported the data, order number was actually a measure, and that was incorrect because I needed it as a attribute. I needed it to be a dimension. So I just right clicked, convert to dimension, and it'll be like that for all of your data across all of the different graphs and dashboards that you'll be doing. Up here we have a column, and right now we just have the invoice date. We're actually just showing the month, and this little square on the side can actually show you different types. It started out as a year, as you can see in the filter, and I expanded it out to just having the month, and you can even go to a day as shown. And then we also have the invoice total because we're comparing the amount of invoices to the dates during the year. And the data given actually went from 2020 to all the way 2020 all the way to 2022, but we just need 2021. So we actually went over here to the filters data or filters section and chose year, and then we chose the 2021 year. So that is what's shown down here. As you can tell, we really have 4 months that have large sales, but there are 3 that are the highest, and it's these 3. If you hover over each point, they'll show you. It is October, and November. It looks like March would be one of them, but October actually has about 10,000 more sales than March. Then we can move on, move this on to our total sales by customer. Now, this is more of a circle cluster graph to show the data. It shows us the customer number, which are these in the circles, and they are by the amount, the total invoices, as you can tell over here. So we have the customer number and the label, and the invoice total and the size. So the larger the size, the more invoices they have, the total sales. But what if we wanted to change the color? It's a little hard to see since they're all the same blue. So all you do is take invoice total, you drag it into the color section, and it'll change the colors for you. The darker the color, the higher the sales. The lighter the color, the lower the sales. Now you can also change the colors if you wanted it to be a certain palette. You can change the different palettes if you wanted to match your company in any way. And it's also very easy to remove. All you do is slide the invoice total back over to your table side, your data side, and it will clear it for you. And it's back to the normal blue. Now, if you wanted to take the total sales but actually make it an average, if you did that, it would just show How about we just do that right here? You change the measure, make it an average. It's kind of hard to see. It's hard to tell which one's higher or which one's the largest, which one's the smallest, even if you do a color. I mean, makes it a little bit easier, but still, it's a very small circle compared to the rest. So you can use a different graph for that. Let me change this one back to the sum. You would actually use something called you would change it up here in the show me. You would change it to circle views. We were in the packed bubbles, but you can change it to circle view. As you can tell, it shows it is much easier to see this customer number and their average invoice total. So customer 10208 has a larger invoice total than 10279 or even 10271. So this is an easier graph to tell the average sales. There are many different graphs that you can use, such as a box and whisker plot, a stacked bars, highlight tables, pie charts, anything you need depending on whatever data you have and whatever you're trying to measure. Now, what if you were trying to forecast future data and maybe compare it to the actual data that you have? Well, we did that down here. We have all of 2021 sales data, but we wanted to see based on the past sales for quarters 1, 2, and 3, what would the forecast be for quarter 4? So we did that down here. Again, it was very much similar to the revenue trend where we have the months at the top. It's down here. We have months at the invoice date, months at the top, and then we have the sum of the invoice total. But something that we changed was making the invoice date over here continuous. So right now it's continuous. You can just right click it and convert to continuous. Excuse me. And also we have filtered the invoice data. So we have in here, we chose an exact date. We wanted it to end at the end of the third quarter, which is September 30th or 31st of 2021. So that is the day that we ended it, which shows that the data is only in all the way through September. And the next couple quarter, and then we have down here forecast indicated for the next 3 months for the fourth quarter. It shows here October, November, and December are in a upward line, so we expect October to have the least amount of sales, about 128,000, and December is expected to have the most amount of sales, around 158,000. So what would we do if we actually used actual data to compare? Well, we have that right here. We have our actual data, and it's set up the same way as before, except for we took out the forecast for it. And really, October to November, there was an increase, very steady. But when you go to December, it very much underperformed what we were expecting. I mean, October and November greatly outperformed the expectations by about 100,000 each. October with 223,000 on the actual, and the forecast shows 128,000. So outperformed in October and November, but December very much underperformed with only 77,000 in actual sales versus the forecasted 158,000. So those are all the worksheets that you can do, but what if you wanted to show them all in one screen together to make the data a little bit easier to see, especially if it's like if someone was just glancing at it. So you can use something called a dashboard, which is down here in the corner. It's actually this middle one. And you just bring all of your sheets. Those are the separate things that we were looking at earlier, all of your sheets onto one. And you can show all the data you need. You can also expand it as much as you want, shorten it, show whichever one you want to have the most amount of room, whichever fits the screen the most. And you can also change the sizes. If you're looking more for a phone view, if you want it to be easier to see on a phone or a computer, whatever fits your need. So up here, I just have the revenue trend that put the forecast and the actual, since those are all very similar size graphs. Putting them all on top of each other would make it very easy to see, while having the total sales and average sales are a little bit more clustery and more vertical. Having those on top of each other would make it easier to see to compare those two together, which is very nice. Having Tableau is very beneficial. It's very easy to see, and it's great for our auditors to be able to compare any data that they need, such as if an auditor was looking at this, some of the inherent weaknesses you would look at is maybe these graphs don't show everything that could affect the different sales. Like we don't see any of the other factors that could have affected December to only be having 77,000 versus November and October to outperform the forecasted data. And forecasts are never 100% accurate. There are always other factors that could change anything. Forecasts are just predictions, but that doesn't mean you can rely on them 100% since you never really know what's going to happen in the future. You don't know how many sales you were going to have that month. So it is great to see the different changes in what was expected versus mathematically expected versus what actually happened. For an auditor, they would, to see the drastic change, they would maybe need the invoices or at least the invoice list to see the completeness of all the invoices, especially during October and November, since November is highly outperformed anything that was expected. It would show the completeness of the invoices, make sure they're all correct, make sure they all went through, and maybe the accounts receivable to see if they received all of the money or if there are, since this is towards the end of the year, if there are any outstanding receivables that would be needed to be noted on in any of the financial statements. So that could affect any of the income for the year also. So that is my Tableau. I hope you enjoyed. Again, my name is Emma Wright, and Tableau is very fun to use. It's great to show any data that you need, whether that be a graph or maybe a cluster of data. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. Thank you.